Hi everyone, Sam here, mental health social worker and cognitive behavioural therapist based in Perth, Western Australia. My counselling rooms are in Fremantle and Cottesloe. Oh, just almost knocked the camera over. And today I am doing a vlog for all you perfectionists out there. So, or if you know someone who's a perfectionist or you're just interested, you're welcome to watch along. But this is really a vlog for the perfectionists out there. There are many of us out there. I did talk yesterday just really briefly about the problems that perfectionism can cause in our lives, and that it's often linked with higher stress levels and lower resilience to things going wrong in life. And another really helpful way to think about perfectionism is that it's almost like a phobia of making mistakes or being imperfect. So like I said last night, it's not about having high standards and high standards being a bad thing. High standards can be a real strength, but it's when those high standards have no flexibility and a lot of fears around what will happen if those high standards are not met that it can become a problem known as perfectionism. So today I thought I would talk to you about 3 strategies or tips that can help with perfectionism. And this is just a kind of simplified version of I guess a bit of a combination of cognitive behavioural therapists, but also with some Gestalt therapy. So it's just a little bit of a combination. And obviously, if you were working with a therapist around your own perfectionism, it would be more individually tailored to you. So this is just some general information. So the first step or the first strategy that would help with perfectionism is actually creating awareness around what you do, how you think, and how your perfectionism impacts on you. So, asking yourself questions like, am I having trouble meeting my standards? Do my standards often end up making me feel stressed, anxious, down? Do my standards get in the way of me actually achieving my goals? So often perfectionism is linked with procrastination, because if we set ourselves these really, really unrealistic standards, or we have no flexibility with them, then we can often feel so overwhelmed by those standards that we just never start. And I can relate to that a bit with, having not done a website or professional photos or anything like that. I just kept putting off creating a business page on Facebook. And actually doing this vlog has been about me kind of trying to challenge my own perfectionism by taking imperfect action and just putting something out there that it doesn't have to be perfect for you to make a start. So the first step or strategy is to actually create some awareness about your perfectionism. Notice if you're really critical of yourself, if you can't meet your standards, if it is impacting on your mood. Then the second step is to really pay attention to your thinking around your standards and what you're telling yourself, and see if you can make some shifts in that. So instead of aiming for perfect, think about what's realistic or what's good enough. It's better to make a start and do something than to do nothing at all. So ask yourself, what's realistic in my situation right now? What's good enough? You can use that helicopter technique that I talked about a couple of vlogs ago, like zooming out and looking at the situation from high up above and thinking, what else would someone say in this situation? What advice would I give a friend if they were in the same situation? And also a really important one is, are my standards helpful? Are my standards actually helping me right now, or are they getting in the way? So some of the strategies that I've been kind of providing you with earlier on in my vlogging challenge are actually quite useful for multiple problems. And that's a really good thing about cognitive behavioural therapy, that you can actually learn these skills and then use them in multiple areas of your life. So that's the second way of coming at perfectionism. So first we're looking at creating awareness around your perfectionism so that you know what's going on. And then we're looking at a bit of thought challenging, a bit of just creating some flexibility in the way you look at your perfectionism. And then the third strategy is actually looking at gradually and purposely changing that behavior a little bit and working a bit towards that imperfect action instead of perfectionism. So gradually and purposefully making mistakes and coming across as imperfect. So I can give you an example. When I was working in London, I was working with a mum with postnatal depression, and I've definitely noticed that mums with perfectionism can be a little bit more vulnerable to difficulties when after their baby's born. I think it can just make motherhood even that extra bit challenging. So we set up an experiment for this mum who was a real perfectionist, especially around the house, where she actually invited one of her friends around for a play date, but she agreed not to spend hours cleaning the house and getting it all perfect before her friend showed up. So, and by doing that experiment, we actually were able to test out some of her predictions as well. She really catastrophized or imagined that it would be absolutely terrible if she didn't have the house perfect when her friend came round, that her friend might have a negative reaction towards her, or that she would feel really bad about herself. And then by actually taking that action, she was able to test out some of those predictions and see that actually most of them didn't come true, or to a much lesser extent, than what she'd predicted. So the third step is really around changing that behaviour. And I find that continuum that I talked about last night, if you think about, perfectionism is on one side of the continuum of the line drawn between my hands, and flexibility and imperfect action is on the other side. You can actually draw a spot where you see yourself on the continuum and where your actions are, and then slowly start to move away from the perfectionism and just taking even small steps. So maybe if you spend 2 hours cleaning your house before someone comes round, you might go, okay, I'm only going to let myself spend half an hour, or I'm going to deliberately leave a part of my house messy and see what happens. So actually taking those changes in your behaviour will then also affect how you think about being a perfectionist and things needing to be perfect. And this is actually called a behavioural experiment. So you would actually write out what your predictions are and then actually do the experiment. So take the imperfect action and then write out what actually happened. And it's all about testing your beliefs out and your predictions out and just seeing if we can get some flexibility. So again, with most things, we are aiming for flexibility rather than black and white, rigid thinking and rigid rules in life. They just, life's too complicated for some rules to just be applied to everything. So we're aiming for a bit of that flexibility. So I thought maybe if anyone, notices or thinks that they might be a little bit of a perfectionist, you might want to try one of these little experiments on yourself. Even if you're not a perfectionist, it's quite interesting to do. So I'll post the link in the comments to a worksheet that I use sometimes with people to do behavioural experiments. And, maybe this week, if you do struggle with perfectionism a little bit, you could just try and identify a very small experiment that doesn't feel too hard, just something like baby steps towards that imperfect action. It might be sending a text message without editing it first, or, I've worked with people who will spend hours editing emails before they send them out because they're so worried about making a mistake and how people would see them if they did make a mistake. So, everyone's going to have a different threshold for what feels comfortable for them. But, it could be interesting, having a look at some of these experiments. But I just wanted to, hi Mel. How you going? Hope you're enjoying your Sunday. I'm just talking about perfectionism and 3 strategies that can help with perfectionism. Just coming up to the end of the vlog now. But I'll just summarize quickly. So we've got firstly that we want to create some awareness around our perfectionism, noticing what we do, how we feel, if we have standards that are so high that perhaps they cause a lot of stress or anxiety or low mood with us. So firstly, we want to create some awareness around it. Then secondly, we want to look at our thinking around it and perhaps kind of challenge some of those thoughts by thinking what's realistic, what's good enough, what would someone else do in this situation? And then thirdly, actually gradually and purposefully making some small changes in our behaviour. And we will probably find out that it's not the end of the world if we do make some small changes to our really high standards. and have some flexibility. So yeah, look, that's it for my vlog for today. It's vlog 21 of 30 to help reduce the stigma around talking about mental health issues. And as always, I'm really grateful for people watching live, and if anyone would like any support or if you've got any questions, please feel free to email me or message me. If you found this video helpful, please like or share it with other people. And if you're not already following my page, can you please go and press follow? I've got 99 followers, so I only need one more till I've got 100, so I'm quite excited about that. And I think if you press follow on my Facebook page, you're more likely to get an alert when I go live so that you can actually watch me go live. So yeah, that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow for vlog 22 of 30. Okay, bye guys.